A cute little pumpkin pattern. Hi everyone, my name is Norman. I run the blog nimbleneedles.com and today I want to show you how to knit a pumpkin. This little specimen here gained a lot of attention last year. Thousands have already downloaded the pattern, and I cannot even begin to tell you how truly wowed I have been by all the pictures you guys uploaded to Ravelry, Instagram, and elsewhere of your finished projects. Since there are only a couple of weeks left until the beginning of autumn, I thought it might be very helpful to have a video of me knitting this pumpkin pattern so you can knit along. The pattern itself is not very complicated once you understand the concept. In fact, I created it because I wasn't satisfied with all the existing pumpkin patterns. They didn't look like the real thing and involved tons of sewing. Now, this pattern here is probably more suitable for knitters past their first scarf or pot holder. You will have to know how to knit in the round, and there are some advanced stitches involved as well. But hey, don't be afraid, this is exactly the reason why I'm recording a video now, so you can see exactly how I knit this pumpkin pattern step by step. So let's head over to my desk and start knitting pumpkins. But before, like this video right now to support my work. And also, I would love to hear if you guys find these videos helpful and if you would like to see more patterns being knitted here on my channel. And if yes, which? First, some housekeeping. The pattern is available on my blog. It's the first link in the description below. Get it now because you will need it. And there's tons of additional information included, tons of pictures, and further instructions like how to knit pumpkin leaves and so on. And then I quickly want to talk about materials. I'm using a beautiful Wollmeise sock yarn in the colors Good Morning and Pistazie and Bärenstark. But the thing is, you can really just pick any yarn. It doesn't even have to be sock yarn. You can even go bigger or smaller, maybe because you can't knit with these super small needles, or you want a pumpkin that is much larger. It really doesn't matter, just be creative. And then pick double pointed knitting needles in a size that is relatively small compared to your yarn weight, because we will be stuffing this pumpkin later on with some toy stuffing, and you don't want any toy stuffing to peek through. I am using these 2.5 millimeter carbons needles. And then you will need scissors, tapestry needle, and optional some stitch markers. And once you got all these materials, we are ready to go. Start by casting on 4 stitches with the green yarn. You could also use a brown yarn or whatever you feel looks best for your little pumpkin stem. And make sure to leave a short tail for weaving in ends later on. And then slide those stitches, I turned my needle here, that's not what you should do. Slide those stitches back to the other end, and then we need to knit an I-cord. So knit across these same 4 stitches. I have a full tutorial on how to knit an I-cord here on my channel. Maybe you want to check that out. It has tons of fun I-cord variations like curly I-cords, pearl I-cords, and so on. Maybe you want to watch that. I'll link it to you up in here. But in this case, we just need to knit a standard I-cord for altogether 6 rows. If you take a quick look at the pattern, you will see that of course you can knit a full pumpkin patch with leaves and tons of vines. And if you want that, you would have to knit your I-cord for a lot longer, so not just 6 rows but 100 or so, until you have altogether maybe 10 inches or so of I-cord. But in this case it's just 6 rows. So my I-cord has 6 rows now, and now we need to start increasing. So knit 2 stitches, And now you need to knit KLL, knit left loop, and this means you need to lift here this left loop here back to the needle and knit it through the back loop. Let's do it one more time. So knit one stitch, KLL, and there you go. You have 6 stitches on your needle. Slide them back to the right end and knit across. Normally you wouldn't knit an I-cord across 6 stitches, so keep those stitches nice and tight. And then we have 6 stitches here, and now we need to increase those 6 stitches to 12 stitches. This means you need to increase every stitch. So knit 1 and KLL. And as you can see, you can also do the lifting with the right needle in case that is easier for you. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I usually do it with the right needle. So increase with KLL after every stitch. Every stitch, there you go. One more time. I know this is fiddly, but it will be so worth it. And here for the last stitch, it's typically too difficult to pick up that stitch, so you can sneak in a KRL, so you lift the right loop back to the left needle. We're going to need this stitch later on anyway, and knit it through the front loop. And you know, it won't make a big difference. No one is going to look at your pumpkin under a magnification lens anyway, and you won't notice the difference. And from here we need to join in the round. This means slipping those 12 stitches to 4 separate needles, 3 per needle. And I guess that's why I love these Carbons needles so much. There's just 3 stitches on the needle, but still they don't slide out. I just love these needles. I have a full review of the Carbons range here on my channel. I link it to you up in here. And then you simply knit across one row, or rather, well, simply, it's fiddly as hell, but bear with me. You just need to survive the next 2 rows, and then things will be much easier to handle. It's just those first rows. But you know, you want a nice pumpkin and not one where you need to do a lot of seaming. So I guess you have to live with it. And after that row, you can cut the green yarn, leaving a short tail for weaving in later on. And now we need to join in the orange color, or whichever color you decided to knit your pumpkins in. And I do this with a method called twist and weave. It's a lot easier to do flat, but it works in a round as well. And then you need to knit 1 stitch. And the repeat for this row is knit 1, KLL, KRL, and knit 1. So we knitted 1 stitch. Then KLL, then KRL, knit the right loop and knit it through the front. Knit 1 stitch. Again, knit 1 stitch. And there will be some KLLs here between the needles. But remember, this is just this one row here that's a bit more difficult. The rest, if you survive this row, the rest will be super easy. Lift this loop. Knit 1. And again, knit 1, KLL, KRL until the very end of your row, and you will have altogether 24 stitches on your needles after this. If you want to avoid the jog, I recommend lifting this stitch back to the left needle and knitting it together with the first stitch, and then knit across the second row. It's just knit stitches here, so super easy. One thing you can do in this row, you can shuffle stitches around already, but I'll show you what I mean in the next row. So here in the 13th round, the repeat is knit 2 KLL, KRL, knit 2. So what we will be doing is we will stack another set of KLL and KRLs on top of each other, and this will create and shape the pumpkin. So knit 2, and then knit KLL, knit a KLL, and you can place a stitch marker here because the KLLs and KRLs are always going to be knit left and right of the same position. I don't do this because I don't get confused that easily, but maybe you are. That's nothing to worry about. Place a stitch marker if you feel comfortable. So knit 2 and again knit 2. Now here's the thing. You would have to KLL in between a needle, and that's why I shuffle the stitches around so I don't have to knit those complicated stitches in between two needles. And then I KLL, KRL. You don't have to do this, but I just feel it's easier. Then knit 2 again, 1, 2, KRL, and so on. So always knit 2, KLL, KRL, knit 2 across the whole row. And at the end, you should have altogether 36 stitches. So let's take a quick break here, not only because you mastered the most difficult part of this pattern, but also to talk about two little tips here. First of all, I recommend placing a stitch marker here right below the start of your round, because that way you will never miss it and you always know when you have to start increasing again after you knit it across one round. And then I recommend knitting this pattern with 4 needles. I know a lot of knitters prefer to knit in around on 3 needles, but the thing is the stitch count is divisible by 4. So you have, see, I have the same number of stitches on this needle and on this needle and the same number on this and this. So this means I really can knit this in a symmetrical way. If you are using 3 needles, one needle is always going to be different. And speaking from experience, this has a lot of knitters confused. And from here you basically have to repeat this pattern over and over again. So you knit across one round, just one round of plain knit stitches, because those KLL increases, they always need a base, so it's best to keep at least one round in between them. And by the way, a KLL is and all those lifted increases are by far my favorite increases ever. And in this case, they serve a very, very important function because they shape fabric. And here in the next round, you need to knit 3 KRL, KLL. I guess you can see a pattern. First it was knit 1 KLL, KRL, then it was knit 2 KLL, KRL, and now it's knit 3. And let me show why I don't place a stitch marker. Because here you can already see this little, well, I suppose ladder or elongated stitches. That's your decrease line, and so it's going to get more pronounced the further you proceed. So that's why I don't place stitch markers. I can read my pattern just like that, and I think it's much easier than shuffling around those stitch markers all the time. I personally think that's a bit annoying. You just have to pay attention, pay attention. And here again, see, we have this little line of stitches, and this means I need to KRL and KRL and KLL. It's actually quite simple. I mean, for some of you, those increases will be new, but once you knitted them a couple of times, it's going to be very easy. And if you continue alternating between those two rounds, always one increased round and one round where you just knit across, you will slowly see your little pumpkin emerge just like magic. And here in round 23, the repeat starts with knit 2 together. Then you knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this should bring you right to your previous increase line. And then you KLL and KRL again, just the way you did before. And then you knit another 5 stitches. And then you SSK. So you decrease 2 stitches and you increase 2 stitches per row, and thus you stay at the same number, and then you start your a bit difficult, and that's why I recommend shuffling the stitches around a bit one more time, so you don't end up increasing or decreasing at the beginning or the end of your row, because that can be quite difficult, as you saw. So it's always the same. And once you finish that round, you knit 1 row across, just 1 row of simple knit stitches. And you start round 25 with the exact same repeat. So knit 2 together, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then KLL again, KRL, KRL, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, SSK, and then start all over again until the end of the row, and then continue according to the pattern until round 41, and I guess I'll see you there. So about an hour later, this is how I guess you can call it a pumpkin already, because it's starting to look like one. And now we need to start decreasing here towards the bottom. Of course, you could repeat those 2 rounds for a couple of more times if you want a taller pumpkin. After all, not all pumpkins look the same, and this is especially true if you plan to knit a couple of them. So the repeat for row 41 starts with knit 2 together, just the way you did before, and then you knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here is the stitch where you would previously knit a KLL, and now you knit 1 together right loop. So this means you lift this right loop here back to your left needle and knit it together with the next stitch. And then you have to mirror that with this stitch here. So you slip this stitch knitwise. You lift this stitch here back to the left needle, and then you knit these 2 stitches together. And then you knit 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and SSK. And what these strange kind of stitches in the middle do is they try to mirror or continue this decrease line here, both in a visual and in a structural kind of way. Let's knit it one more time. So you start with a simple knit 2 together, then you knit for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you knit a knit 1 together right loop. So you lift this loop here and you knit it together with the next stitch. Then you slip 1 knitwise, lift this loop here back to the needle, and then you knit these 2 stitches together. And then again knit for an SSK. And continue decreasing in that manner. Instead of knitting those rather uncommon stitches, even though they have a lot of amazing use cases, you can also slip 1 stitch and then knit it, and in the next row you do it the other way around. You slip this stitch and knit this stitch. It will have a very similar effect. And once you finish that decrease round, big surprise, you knit across. Then you decrease another time, then knit across, and so on. And then until you are down to, well, 11 stitches. And I guess I'll see you there. So I am knitting my last stitches here. The last round is just knit 2 together, SSK across all stitches, and then 1 more decrease. There you go. If you have been knitting along, congratulations. You just finished knitting your first little pumpkin. And now it's time to finish it. And now it's time to break the yarn, but leave a sizable tail. So I would say at least 15 inches or so. Because we will need a bit for putting things together. Next, thread the tail on a tapestry needle and go through the remaining stitches of your last round. Pick up all those stitches and secure them. Secure them one at a time. I'll quickly do that. Just a quick note here, right at the beginning, there are still those 2 tails. You can tie these into a knot. I mean, you could weave them in the traditional way, but no one is going to see the inside of your pumpkin anyway. So you can just tie them into a knot and then stuff the rest into your little pumpkin. And now it's time to start with the fun part. You can stuff your little pumpkin. So pick up a little bit of toy stuffing and put it in. I always take a little bit of stuffing and then I sort of massage it here into those little bumps. You want these bumps here to really pop, so I always take a little bit of stuffing and then, a little bit of stuffing and then I massage it right into these bumps. Go slowly, no need to rush things. So as you can see, I'm stuffing in quite a lot. I want my pumpkins to be quite solid, and then I sort of massage the toy stuffing into every little corner, especially here into these top bumps here. I want them to really pop. Well, maybe there's room for yet a bit more. And once you are satisfied with the shape and the feel of your little pumpkin, you can close the hole, close it. And now I pick up my tapestry needle and I so over one. So I go through each little stitch of the cast on, bind of the last row, I mean, of the last row. And then I pull tight. One more time. These last stitches. That's how I do it. And I do it for almost all of my toys like that. Now, our little pumpkin here is already looking cute and nice, but not perfect yet. So the one thing that remains is, so here's what I do. I pick my tapestry needle and then I go here right through my little pumpkin. Right through my pumpkin. Pull the tapestry needle through. And then I go around one rib here. See, here's a knit stitch. And in between there is a little rib here. See this rib? And I go around it. And then I go out here at the bottom. And now you can, and I hope you can see this, now you can pull a bit. You can pull, you can cinch your little pumpkin a bit. Pull, just, what you feel looks nice. And then do the same here with another stitch. Go right through, don't push the toy stuffing through. And go around another little bar here. And go out through the bottom. And continue doing this until you are satisfied with the shape of your little pumpkin. I usually go around 2 or 3 times. And then once you're satisfied, you can tie one knot here, one little knot here, stuffing, and then hide the rest of your tail here on the inside. So pull it through, see that knot vanished, and then you can cut the rest of the tail. So I always do it like that. I pull it in a bit, cut it, and there it is. And then of course you need to weave in that tail as well. And one last little trick. If you notice that one of the bumps here lost shape during the cinching process, you can always pick up a crochet hook and redistribute the toy stuffing from the inside like that. And there you go. If you have been knitting along, I guess this is the perfect time to congratulate you because you just finished knitting your first pumpkin. Isn't it cute? Now, I really hope you enjoyed knitting along, and I trust you know you can knit as many pumpkins in as many colors and sizes as you want. These make great gifts and are a terrific home decor, especially as they don't end up all smelly after 2 weeks and can be used every year anew. And as I said in the beginning, if you have a look at the pattern, you will find the instructions to add leaves and vines to your little pumpkins so you can knit up your own little pumpkin patch. Anyway, this was my pumpkin knitting pattern. Please like this video if you enjoyed watching, comment with your questions, and don't forget to subscribe in case you don't want to miss any new videos. Happy knitting and enjoy the rest of your day.